DocTalk is brought to you by Multimin USA, manufacturers of Multimin 90, Sure Trace Mineral Supplementation by Timed Injection.
Hi there, folks. Dr. Dan Thompson here on DocTalk. I'm sure glad you joined us today. We're going to have a great show. We're going to have Dr. David Rethorst, who's the Director of Outreach for the Beef Cattle Institute here at Kansas State University. And we're going to talk about flies, fly control, and other things associated with flies in the cow herd. Thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for the show.
I'm Dennis Tebow. My wife and I, Kathy, are the owners of Wolf Creek Cattle Company. We have grown to approximately 70 bulls.
I'm Reese Arnold. I'm the livestock manager at Wolf Creek Cattle Company. You know, these are not just like normal cattle. These cattle, they're hauled anywhere from, 8 to 10 hours a day across the United States and asked to perform. The Multimin 90 keeps them kind of level. It maintains and balances their system. The stress level is less when everything's right and working right, then they're working right.
Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value. This segment is brought to you by Rotomix, manufactured in the USA and designed for feeding performance in the feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here, Dan.
Well, it's always good to have Dr. David Rethorst here, who's a DVM, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, alumni of Kansas State University, and private practitioner that has now joined the Beef Cattle Institute as the Director of Outreach, and we're awfully proud to have him back at Kansas State University. And Dr. Dave, you've been in practice many years. You've worked with a lot of different clientele. What are some of the things about veterinary practice that you miss or that you really enjoyed when you were in practice?
Well, I enjoyed working with the people, Dan, and enjoyed helping them reach their goals, helping produce safe, wholesome food, all about figuring out the problems they were having in their individual herds and finding solutions for them.
Yeah, I think that it is a people business.
Absolutely.
And that's the things that I enjoyed the most as well. And we're awful glad to have you at Kansas State. Glad to have you on the show. And today we're going to talk about flies.
Okay.
And it's something that bothers all of us at some point in time, and there's quite a few different types of flies.
Right. I mean, everybody thinks about the house fly. The main ones as far as cattle production is concerned is the stable fly. Well, we have the stable fly, but the big ones are the horn fly and the face fly as far as what costs us in production.
Right. And stable flies can bite, and the thing grabs you,
yeah.
And then the horn flies and the face flies, and some of the things, just besides flies in the environment and parasites or being parasites, you're always swishing them off your food at a picnic, but part of the reason is they can cause some pretty serious issues.
Right. I mean, at the picnic they can cause foodborne disease. They can carry disease back and forth, and we can end up in those. I think about the meat markets in Mexico and the things that can cause with.
And when we're talking about specifically, there's their ability to transfer bacteria like E. coli 0157H7
right.
and other foodborne pathogens.
Right. But as far as the cattle are concerned, they're an irritant. They're a pest. Cattle will stomp flies, and there's been several cases I know of where stomping at flies has caused some foot issues during the summer. The flies can carry the bacteria that causes pink eye from animal to animal, so that's an issue. And then just that they're a pest, it affects the performance of these cattle.
Yep. When we the performance is a big one. They changes their behavior and doesn't allow them to eat, and can increase the energy used to get away from the pest. But when we come back from break, I want to pick up on some of those diseases like pink eye and such that we discussed.
Okay, very good.
You're watching DocTalk, and we're sure glad you joined us.
This segment was brought to you by Brute Cattle Equipment, makers of the Brute Stealth Hydraulic Chute. If the chute fits, swear by it. Visit our website for more information. Beef producers need a practical choice when antibiotic therapy is required. More than ever, they are reaching for non-prescription Noromycin 300LA from Norbrook, specially formulated to produce sustained antibiotic blood levels up to 4 days in cattle. Noromycin 300LA delivers economic, broad-spectrum disease management for pneumonia, shipping fever, pink eye, wound infections, and foot rot. See for yourself why Norbrook's Noromycin 300LA is the practical choice for your herd.
Dr. Dan here. Whether I'm driving up and down the roads covering the state of Kansas or I'm getting between Riley and Manhattan for my job, I'm driving a Ford truck. I'd like you to come out and visit my friends here at Dick Edwards Ford. They have a truck that'll suit your needs, whether you're looking for power with a Power Stroke diesel or if you're looking for fuel efficiency with the new EcoBoost engine, they got a truck that's just right for you. They're located 2 miles east of the Town Center Mall in Manhattan, Kansas, and they'll bend over backwards to help you. And I'll see you down the road.
This hog is Hanover hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Dan Thompson from DocTalk, and I'm excited to team up with Vance Publishing to honor some of the youngest and brightest professionals in agriculture today. And you can help us by nominating someone you may know. If you know somebody under the age of 40 that excels in animal production or food animal agriculture, food safety, transportation, or others, you can go to DocTalkTV.com and nominate someone for this award. Help us honor those who help us feed the world for generations to come, and I'll see you down the road.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by Norbrook Laboratories, manufacturers of Noromycin LA, Normectin Plus, 1% and Poron, the practical choice for your herd.
Hi there, folks. Welcome back to Doc Talk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson, joined by Dr. David Rethorst. We're from the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University, and specifically from the Beef Cattle Institute at Kansas State University, where Dr. Rethorst is the Director of Outreach and a former practitioner who has joined our staff, and we're talking about flies. And Dr. Dave, as we left, we had talked about, the flies carrying foodborne illnesses, about the potential pestiness causing performance losses and stomping causing some foot diseases. But when we start to think about infectious diseases that these flies can transfer from one calf to another, let's start out with pink eye, because I think that's the big one on fly control.
That's the big one. You get the tears running down the face when these calves start getting pink eye, and the flies get in that, and then they fly to the next calf, and they can sure transmit that bacteria to the next calf and really be part of the pink eye problem.
And that one we're thinking of Moraxella bovis.
Bovis.
And then aside from pink eye, some of these flies are biting flies, and when we have biting flies, now we're talking about blood-to-blood transmission.
Take a blood meal on one animal, go bite the next animal. They can certainly transmit things like anaplasmosis or bovine leukosis. Would be the big two that come to my mind right away.
And we used to think that anaplasmosis was a coastal, disease, and it's absolutely amazing how much of it is spread across the entire United States.
Anaplasmosis is spread. The more we truck cattle and get positive cattle in areas where they usually aren't, and then we have flies or we have needles going animal to animal, we can certainly transmit the anaplasm.
And then bovine leukosis is a viral disease.
It's a viral disease, and again, spread by blood. Flies are a big one. Needles, mosquitoes, palpation sleeves, anything that can have blood on them going animal to animal.
And that's one of those that can kind of be a silent illness or a silent performance loss issue within these herds.
Right.
So, and then the last one that as far as trouble with flies and taking care of our animals is kind of the animal welfare. And I guess your thoughts on animal welfare, I mean, we're performance loss, controlling pests, injuries, disease, they all seem to be kind of a role that we need to take to.
Right. You look at the disease aspect, and the pestiness, but you know, these animals have a right to be comfortable, or that's one of their freedoms, is they can
Free to express natural behavior.
right. And if they want to lay down, they ought to be able to lay down and don't have to be standing there stomping flies.
Exactly. And when we're pinning them, whether it's dirt lot or open lot or whatever, we may sometimes be taking them away their natural defense mechanisms against those flies. So
Right.
got to control them. Talking about what flies cause, we're going to move on to the next logical subject, which is going to be how you can control those flies. You're watching Doc Talk. We're sure glad you joined us.
You know just how costly BRD can be, but did you know that bacteria like Mannheimia and Pasteurella can cause BRD? That's why veterinarians and cattle raisers focus on preventing pasteurellosis with a quality vaccine like Pulmogard PHM1. It's ready to use, highly syringeable, and provides comprehensive protection with a single dose. For pasteurellosis protection that's truly the head of the class, ask your veterinarian about Pulmogard PHM1.
Hi, I'm Kevin Ochsner, host of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman and Colorado Rancher. Join me each week as the National Cattlemen's Beef Association brings you the latest updates in industry information and market news. Plus, each week we provide important educational information and features on cattlemen from across the country just like you. And we can't forget our favorite cowboy poet, Baxter Black. Join me for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, debuting Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern, right here on RFD TV.
In a feedlot situation, we use multi-min on arrival basis. Maybe if they came in a little lighter weight, 550, 600 pounds. We use multi-min in high-stress cattle, high-risk cattle. We're looking for a better response to our vaccine. For some of the cattle that we're looking for when we use multi-min, they come in, maybe they look a little mineral deficient. They come from parts of the country that are lower in certain mineral. So we use it on those cattle, tends to make a big difference.
This segment is brought to you by Lalaman Animal Nutrition, dedicated to the development and production of natural and differential solutions for animal nutrition.
Hi there and welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. David Rethorst. And we are from the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University. We're sure glad you joined us today. We're talking about flies in cow herds. And specifically, we've talked about some of the different types of flies. We've talked about some of the troubles that flies can cause, whether it's lost performance or whether it's disease transmission. And now we're going to go beyond the fly swatter.
We're going to talk about some
controlling these flies. And you know, the first thing that a person thinks about, at least I do, with controlling flies is where they lay their eggs, and cleanliness is
right up there next to godliness when it
right.
comes to fly control.
That's right.
Need to keep the pens clean. If the cattle are in the pens, we need to get rid of the manure. We need to get any old hay or around the hay racks, that old wet hay that's full of manure. We need to get that out of there so we've got clean ground and just eliminate any place these flies might be able to breed.
Flies love organic matter.
Right.
If they can find old hay or straw, feed alleys is another one where we got to make sure we keep those feed alleys clean and underneath bunks and
right.
And great place for these flies to nest and lay eggs. Mud holes.
Mud holes around a watering pad, around a tank out in the pasture. Again, you have water and you have manure, flies are going to be there reproducing.
Yep, and you know, and that's where the cows are going to gather as well. So we're kind of
right.
bringing them all together. So controlling that environment and keeping things clean is very, very important. Now let's move into some of the other areas and specifically some of the chemicals.
Okay. Well, we have basically two classes of chemicals when I think about fly control. We've got the organophosphates that we've had for years. We've got the pyrethroids, some synthetic pyrethroids. You know, even at times you've used ivermectins as part of our chemical fly control program.
And there comes in many different forms, right? That we can get out, sprays.
We've got sprays. We've got, you know, you can get sprays in either organophosphates or the pyrethroids. We've got ear tags with either class of compound in them. We've got back rubbers, dusters, a whole myriad of things.
And then pour-ons can also work, but the new interesting one we saw the other day was
the paintball gun.
Administering fly control products through a paintball gun.
Right.
Through SmartVet. Interesting product, neat concept, but all these, except for the ear tags, somehow you got to get the application on the cow.
Right.
And they can work in pastures, it can work in dry lots, many different things.
Right. You know, and the thing to remember on ear tags too is the time of the year that you put them in. When I was in practice, I have a lot of guys want to put fly tags in April, and I always tried to talk them out of that and told them the goodie was going to be gone when it came July and August when they needed fly control.
Great points. When we come back, we're going to continue and wrap up with Dr. Dave Rethorst talking about controlling flies in the cow herd. You're watching DocTalk. We're sure glad you joined us.
This segment is brought to you by Purple Wave Auction, the easiest, most straightforward way to sell used equipment. Purple Wave, straight, simple, sold.
This is Agriculture Today from Kansas State University. Well, after over a decade of research, K-State animal scientists have discovered that by feeding a specific grain to feedlot cattle, the beef from those cattle ends up with a high content of a highly desirable human nutrient, that is, omega-3 fatty acids. Here's K-State feedlot scientist Jim Drouillard.
We alter their diet, so we incorporate ingredients into the diet that themselves contain omega-3 fatty acids, such as flaxseed. That's a very rich source of omega-3 fatty acids. And so adding 5 to 10% flaxseed to the diet, we can get maybe a 10 or 12-fold increase in the omega-3 content of the beef.
This is K-State Research and Extension.
Cow-calf, stocker, and feedlot producers know that effective parasite control improves overall herd performance and profitability. Norbrook offers a comprehensive, economical line of pour-on and injectable parasiticides for every livestock operation. Consult with your local animal health supplier to set up a program that protects your investment and brings larger cattle checks this fall. See for yourself why the Noromectin line from Norbrook is the practical choice for your herd.
The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine is a leader in food animal research and education. Our researchers are constantly expanding the knowledge of animal health and food safety. Through the Veterinary Health Center and the Kansas State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab, we provide practical services for animal producers. Home of the Beef Cattle Institute, the college is committed to animal welfare training and research. The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine, knowledge and service for the future of animal production.
Got cattle? Rotomix manufactures a complete line of energy-efficient rotary and vertical feed mixers for feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations. Our mixers are available with the patented Generation 2 staggered rotor, the industry standard for feeding wet rations that include wet distiller's grain. Made in the USA, Rotomix mixers are designed for feeding performance that American cattlemen and dairy producers have come to expect. Rotomix, proud to offer a better mix in less time using less fuel.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Welcome back to DocTalk, folks. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson. Glad you joined us today. I'm joined by Dr. David Rethorst, who's the Director of Outreach for the Beef Cattle Institute here at Kansas State University's College of Veterinary Medicine. We've had a great show, great discussion with you, Dr. Dave.
Glad to be here.
And we're talking about flies, and we're talking about fly control. And as we left for the break, we'd been talking about sprays and ear tags and dusters and pour-ons and the paintball gun, but you wanted to touch on the back rubs.
Right, and back rubs are a good tool, and one of my pet peeves with the back rub is, a lot of times the old crankcase oil out of the tractor gets put on those back rubs, or the diesel fuel gets put on those back rubs. And in this day of food safety and quality products and trying to, you know, get the consumer still wanting our product, I think it's important that we don't use the old crankcase oil. And I even at times question using diesel fuel, but you know, I sure like the drip oil. It's a nice, light, clean product that I think is more appropriate to use in these back rubs than the crankcase oil out of the tractor.
Sure. It's a good way to get rid of it, but
but maybe not appropriate.
That's right. Oh goodness. But then there's some natural fly controls, and specifically, you know, what are some of them?
Well, you know, the one that comes to mind first is the parasitic wasps. And, you know, I don't have a lot of experience with those, but, you know, anybody that's doing a natural program with their cow herd, you know, and can't use some of the chemical stuff, the parasitic wasp would certainly play into that. It would be a good thing.
We used them quite a bit in the feed yards and
right.
around show cattle and things like that, because you actually put the parasitic wasps out where the flies bed,
right.
their nest. And so you can just dump it on the ground, and here come the little wasps flying around. And
right.
they're not wasps that are going to attack you or bite you. They only attack the nymphs of the larvae of the flies.
Right.
And then other
things, you know, just keep the weeds down. Any place those flies could hide where they could reproduce. I think the weed control goes along with getting the manure cleaned up, keeping the water holes around the tank dried out. Just some good common sense husbandry practices.
Yeah, awfully important when we start to think about raising cattle and maintaining a cow herd or a feedlot is not only controlling them from the standpoint of performance and disease, but now understanding foodborne illnesses and things that can be transferred.
Right, and just overall well-being of the animal.
Well, you've been a great guest, and we sure appreciate you being here.
Thanks. Enjoyed being here.
Well, we'll have you back.
Very good. See you next time.
And thank you for watching Doc Talk. Remember, if you'd like to know what Dr. Rethorst and I do here at the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University, you can find us on the web at www.vet.ksu.edu. Remember, always work with your local practitioner when you're looking at different things for your herd or for your dogs or your pets. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson. You've joined us today for Doc Talk. We're sure glad you joined us, and I'll see you down the road. Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value.
Doc Talk, produced in cooperation with Drovers Cattle Network and Bovine Veterinarian. For more information about this program or previous programs, go to DocTalkTV.com. Doc Talk was brought to you by Multimin USA, manufacturers of Multimin 90, sure trace mineral supplementation by timed injection.
As a manager of grazing beef cows, the thing that's always bothered me about standard trace mineral supplements is that we put them out for the animals to consume, but there's no guarantee that the animals will consume them in the right amounts. Multimin 90 allows us to address at least 3 specific trace mineral issues that we have here in the Flint Hills. Other grassland types here in Kansas, the midgrass prairie in the central part of the state and the shortgrass prairie out west, have their own mineral issues. Multimin 90 matches up with those as well. Trace mineral supplements are also heavy metals, and we have to be careful how we use them, how much we put into animals that might potentially find their way into the human food chain. Multimin 90 is an FDA-regulated product. It's important to follow label directions in terms of dosage and route of administration. The route of administration is subcutaneous, usually in the neck area. There are no risks for injection site lesions, or minimal risks anyway for injection site lesions if used appropriately. What I like as a livestock manager about Multimin 90 is that when I apply that injection, I know that the animal is receiving the 4 critical trace minerals, selenium, copper, manganese, and zinc, at exactly her requirement. I know exactly how much is getting in. In our trial at Kansas State University, we used 460 mature cows. Half of these were injected at preg check time during the month of December, and again about 4 weeks prior to breeding. The other half of the cattle received a saline placebo. We then monitored reproductive performance during a single timed AI event and the subsequent natural service breeding season. In our study, we got 9% greater AI conception on the treated cattle than on the cattle that received placebo, and our calving distribution was shifted farther forward into the spring in the treated cattle as opposed to the untreated cattle.